Hey there, it's House, bestrevenuewriter.com. I have a quick video to show you today about building a B2B lead generation system from the ground up. Now, it's easy to get confused with all of the advancements that have been going on, specifically with this year. There's more channels than ever. You hear about them in Forbes articles about the latest and greatest technology, tactic, channel, whatever it is. I apologize for the chicken scratch on just to give you an illustration of the idea. This is how it looks. And in that center, this is your fundamentals. Areas right here are your best chance of reaching who you need to directly. Getting rid of these channels is a big mistake. Usually it comes from a younger employee, maybe multiple of them, that will convince the owner, the CEO, the director that these areas are outdated, they need to advance, and of course that's going to play on your psychology because you don't want to feel out of advance, you don't want to be behind. You have this fear of missing out. They might have a valid point, but it only really works when everything around the circles that you see here, which is consider audio and video as part of the sales enablement, and referring to social proof, ebooks, guides, white papers, so on and so forth. Talk about video even, for instance, saying we need to be on YouTube. That's where the most eyeballs are. They're the second largest search engine. Well, it's true in a sense. Typically to B2B, the KPIs on the views is not going to have a direct relation, at least not initially, to your revenue. This will, because this is how you're going to be setting meetings and getting new leads, getting your brand out on a consistent basis. With YouTube, for instance, something like inbound leads. Of course, we'd all like to just sit back and have hundreds of people per day reaching out to us wanting to do business with us. But it's putting the cart before the horse in this sense. It starts to support these channels. For a certain amount of time, let's say that you have a new hire that has just gotten brought in. Be the first casualty of the exposure effect, meaning that it's natural in human nature to reject what is unfamiliar to them. So that's part of the game. You have to set aside about 1 to 3 months before you really start to see the traction and can really start holding them accountable to their performance, because at first, you're gonna have to use a lot of action-based metrics to judge their performance. It's not an excuse to let them off and say that, yeah, you don't have to bring in leads. There's going to be some leads. A trajectory like this, it shouldn't have peaks and valleys, or to even expect them to start up here. That's a good way to deflate and demotivate your team. Having realistic KPIs also falls into a part of this. When we get outside of the circles, it's hard to see on here, but there is live streaming there at the bottom, which of course I have been saying is a fantastic channel that is underutilized. It will continue to be a popular channel because it's going to be hard to do, especially for B2B people to figure this out. There's a lot of growing pains that are going to come with it, but those who are willing to put up with that and figure it out, they're going to be rewarded. Make purchase decisions. Let's say that you had 20 leads, 10 of them are serious contenders to be a client, 10 to 8 decision makers at once. Lower example, perhaps 3 to 4, looking at these areas to help support their decision. So you see why you need to hunt first. You're gonna be working mostly on filling that pipeline with serious contenders. Sell into this and you get this rock solid. Then working on these areas so that it should align at least as close as possible to the timeline when the people you have been reaching out to, setting meetings with, hopefully nurturing, hopefully that's a big part of your process, are ready to actually buy. There's about 6 to 7 interactions that a prospect will have with your brand, and that's pieces of content before they make their buying decision. So during that time, you're stockpiling this. You should not ever have this closed. Don't ever let your team talk you into that this is dead. These are channels. A channel doesn't die. Either snail mail even works. With live streaming, it's just an easier way to public speak on a broader scale. Timeless principles that have been thousands of years. We're delivering the content too, so that your direct way to reach them is covered. Do not rely on off page. Do not let that be all that you have going for you, specifically for B2B. This is like a scope, how targeted you can get. The wider it gets, the more mass appeal that you can have. Particularly with B2B, especially with too much volume, you're gonna have a very segmented prospect list that you can reach out to. You have to Make sure that you're not burning bridges or burning through lead just for the sake of quick, easy wins. It's a relationship model at the end of the day. Get the name out there. You want to make sure that you have that direct scope as precise as you can get. Everything else is just something that brings it in and strengthens us. This is House, bestrevenuewriter.com. Make sure to subscribe for more premier audio and video content. As far as the podcast goes, the Revenue Writers Podcast, you can find that on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple, and make sure to visit www.bestrevenuewriter.com.